Hey everybody, this is John for MTG Nexus, back with some more Boros burn here, trying out some of the new Sunbaked Canyons in the list. Someone requested we do a 4 Sunbaked Canyon list, and no green splash this time, so we're using Smash to Smithereens in the slot that Cindervines was previously in. Other than that, the deck is very similar to what we've already been playing. 4 Sunbaked Canyons, cut all the inspiring advantages, see how that fares in the meta right now. One deck that's been popping up is a new rendition of Bridgevine that's using things like Altar of Dementia? The reprint from Modern Horizons. So, with the new deck popping up, something to keep in mind, kind of the new hotness, new boogeyman, however you want to put it. What's it called? Hogak Bridgevine. So this is kind of the new hotness floating around, so something to keep in mind with your graveyard heat and such. Uses the new carrion feeder to have another sacrifice outlet in addition to Altar of Dementia, which allows you to mill your deck. Then you eventually try to get a Hogak into Arisen Necropolis into play, along with a bunch of tokens from your Ridge from Belows by sacking your Bloodghast and your Stitcher suppliers, filling your graveyards. This deck fills its graveyard really quickly. One thing that's notably missing from the old builds is the Bushwhackers. So this deck is a little bit less, or does take a turn usually to set up, other than the Vengevines and the Bloodghast can have haste. So the deck might be a little bit slower in terms of not being able to do the 1-2 knockout punch in one turn. Still, that's a lot of milling in one turn when this deck gets rolling. Saffron Olive was streaming it earlier today. So Bridgevine's kind of making a comeback in the form of that deck, so something to keep in mind. We might want to consider more copies of Rest in Peace in the period between the 15th, when the new sideboard guide gets released, and when the London Mulligan rule goes into place, because that's when Neoform combo will probably be on the upswing, as after London Mulligan goes into place on Magic Online on July 2nd. And after that long-winded intro, a friendly reminder, if you like what you're seeing on the channel, please consider subscribing, giving us a thumbs up, leaving a constructive comment down below, so we aim to be the most informative Lightning Bolt deck in YouTube for Modern, particularly Burn, but we also do Is It Phoenix and Mono Red Phoenix on occasion, and we're also doing Esper Control as our deck of the month, which those are separate videos if you want to go check that out. Anyways, so that's pretty much the build. Let's hop into a league. I'll be back here in a bit with match number 1. Here we are, back with match number 1. We have a Sunbaked Canyon in our hand. Hand's pretty solid even for being on the draw, so hopefully this will be a reasonable matchup. Last time out we played against a couple mirror matches. I think Infect, Dredge, and Valakut. So certainly matchups last time out that Sunbaked Canyon could have punished us. So I think we can go ahead and fetch probably Basic Mountain to play Swiftspear. Obviously, it kind of depends on what our opponent's doing. Alright, let's see what we're up against. Dredge, possibly. Kind of hard to say with Blood Crypt Go. Could be the new Bridgevine deck too. So they are definitely a Blood Crypt based deck. Yep. Oh boy. So we get to see the new tech right away. This deck is definitely scary. Though Bridgevine had a certain fail rate last time around, and hopefully this deck does as well. I noticed they're lacking the... oh, not so much for that hope. Yep, there comes Vengevine back. kind of funny how both on Magic Online and Arena, the amount of people that pick up these decks in a ridiculously quick amount of time. It's like there used to be some amount of used to be a certain amount of lead time you had when dealing with certain things. Like there was time before people picked up these decks, but with the huge upswing in pros streaming and people working on decks, there seems to be a very, very short lead time between when a deck gets first created and when it really seems to start pushing the envelope. So hopefully they won't be able to get that back this time, but I wouldn't necessarily count on it. Surprised they didn't attack with it, because generally, at least the old versions of Bridgevine were very capable of racing burn. So Faithless Looting, Turd Dementia, and Hogok, or however you pronounce that. Hogok. Okay, sure. Is this the yield discard? Is this the yield discard bridge from low, go nuts kind of turn? Gonna use the spectacle card while we can this turn. Gotta have something here, right? Don't understand why you would not leave that Insolent Neonate back on defense or have used it to block last turn. When we Lightning Helix their Vengevine, I don't know. Feels like they're being too defensive, possibly. Hard to say, hard to say. Standmeyer, Carrion Veeder, Citrus Supplier. This feels like their mulligan wasn't all that good. So if we hit a burn spell, we should have lethal next turn. Actually, okay, that isn't the one where the gain X life. Like, they want to run a necrotic wound. It's the number of creature cards in your graveyard. There's one that allows them to. There's one in standard that allows you to gain life, and then, you know, creature gets -X based on how many whatevers you lose, and it's definitely able to chain with. There's a bridge. So they could potentially get a Zombo. Sure. I mean, pretty sure you're just dead as is, friend. Alright, so do this. Barring any unforeseen circumstances, you're just dead, right? It's like, I don't think there's anything you can find there. At least not in the main deck. So, sideboarding against a graveyard-based nonsense deck. Probably Searing Bloods. Definitely this. So, Cage isn't great in that it doesn't stop Bridge from Below token nonsense, but it does stop Gravecaller from coming back from the graveyard. It does stop Bloodghast from coming back from the graveyard. It does stop Vengevine. It does stop Hogak. So I think it's worth bringing in. Their deck has a lot of kind of nonsense going on. So Bloods are pretty reasonable. That's pretty reasonable. I think we're going to stick with 3 Eidolons. This is really kind of a crapshoot against them, because this is kind of a new archetype that's popped up in the last several days since the release of Modern Horizons. So I'm kind of learning. You're seeing my thought process as I'm learning this playing against this deck. So rest in peace. Yeah, I think we got to keep this hand. This hand isn't perfect. We need a second land, and they do have some starts. If it's anything like the old Vengevine decks that can get under a rest in peace, and they do have Wisp Bears to kill it potentially. So we're definitely keeping, hoping we see a second land drop. And beyond that, our hand's reasonably functional. We have a Rift Bolt on 1 pretty much, so other than that, we really need to draw a second land for our hand to be functional. We do have 2 shots to do that. So there is some question about even whether I want to fetch, if I don't draw a land on turn 1, if I want to fetch to keep a slightly statistical higher version of me hitting a second land drop, but I still think we want to start getting our spells out of our hand, because this is still definitely a racing matchup a la Dredge, although without the life gain. But their deck does tend to be a bit more explosive, at least from the little bit I've been trying to catch on camera, etc. So we will see how this goes. I think also it looks quite likely that our opponent is new to the deck, because they seem to be really how do I put it? They really seem to be laboring in their decisions and such. So keeps their 6-card hand. Alright. Two-drop spell is not what we wanted to see. This is like one of the arguments for running 20 lands in burn, even in the newer mana bases and such. So the only version of Burn that did well this week, or in the Modern Challenge, was Burn? Had 6 pieces of Graveyard Hate. It's kind of insane. May also have turned out to have been correct. Flipped away a blood gas, get the blood gas back. On land. How many 2-drops are not like the other? It's possible I should have played Skewer the Critics there. But I think in the end, missing that many land drops and drawing that many Eidolons, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. Go ahead and play out Cage at this point. Opponent should be at 14, but even these blood gas beatdowns might be enough to kill us at this point. Go to 9. Hope the rest of their hand is kind of garbage. Like I said, they should be at 11 right now, which doesn't really appear this is going to be a race. You're not getting that back, friend. Show us Wisp Spear. I think this is going to be a hard cast Wisp Mare. Or Lingering Souls, possibly? Yep, showing us Wisp Mare. So it looks like Rest in Peace wouldn't even have been that great here. Another reason to board out Eidolon anyway. So I can Helix Wispmare. Just Helix the Bloodghast. Rest of our hands pretty terrible. Eidolon when you're trying to race is not the best when you're behind. Sure. We're at the point we basically need to get a little bit lucky. If I would have hit them earlier, we would have been maybe in a bit better spot. Maybe I should play Eidolon to block, but really need to land here. Hopefully they'll attack and we can block. If they just ping us with a Wisp Mare, we could be in some trouble. So like the ideal scenario here is block here, next turn draw land. It's kind of what I was afraid of. Now our own Eidolon's going to lock us. Now they can cast one more spell, we can't cast any spells. And should have just played the Swiss Spear. These Eidolons are total garbo. Our opponent wants to continue wasting time, be my guest. Be our guest, put our service to the test. Fun, exciting magic. So they got impatient and died? Cool. Alright, shouldn't have won that game, but we did. Sweet! This has been John for MTG Nexus with match number 1 with Boros Burn with 4 Sunbaked Canyons. We're back after a weird match number 1. It's a very, very bizarre game. As a friendly reminder, don't forget to check out our Discord channel if you want to join that. Link is down below. Alright, looks like Dredge or Tron. Guess we will know in un minuto. So, they leave on top? No, they did not. So they don't know what's coming up either. Things coming up. Alright, so none of the above? Huh. Discard spell. It's a Totsies! Probably take Goblin Guide. I guess you could conceivably take Swizzle Spear. Yep. So we know what our opponent's doing next turn. Okay. Nah, go to combat first. Snow-covered plains. Comes a cast down on our Goblin Guide. Say hello to my Eidolon friend. Lingering Souls? Nope, Leon of the Veil, sure. So, what do I sack here? That's an interesting question. So this is lethal, right? Yep, our opponent concedes. So some type of black-green or black-white mid-range stuff deck. Probably want Skull Cracks. Stirring Blood definitely feels like they might be some style of Lingering Souls deck, but we really didn't see enough out of them other than discard spell into Liliana. So I think for right now, given the lack of information, I'm going to board very lightly. Board out a couple Searing Blazes in case they're some type of Super Friends deck into a couple Skull Cracks against any type of life gain they might be bringing in. Not liking seeing an extra land there. Like 3 is like the max most burn decks want to see in a game. action spell, most likely. Nope. I'm gonna get brutality on one, or on two. Feels like this might be a brutality turn. Wow. It's a lot of lands. Okay, there's a fatal push. Looks like they're inclined to leave that on top, so... Sure. Don't know if I like that particular play line from them, but, you know, whatevs. I think we fire off the Skullcrack here, because I think it's likely they would have played a, I think it's very likely they would have played Timely Reinforcements last turn if they had it. Discard one of our extra lands. Disenchant. Sure. Yeah. Alright, so pretty quick, brutal, efficient victory over Black-White Walkers. Not really sure what their deck was. It might have been Black-White Planeswalkers. It might have been some poor draws from Black-White tokens, but I guess we'll never know. It's been John for MTG Nexus, match number 2. Welcome back for match number 3. Off to a rather nice 2-0 start here, and we're on the play, so that's always a positive. If you want to keep up to date on what's going on with the channel, what's going on with our standard channel, feel free to follow us on our Twitter page. Link is down below. So, played against the new Bridgevine version of Altar of Dementia deck in round 1, round 2, Black-White Walkers or tokens. Not 100% sure which one we were off facing against. Ah, good old ad nauseum. Alright, this will be fun. Okay, maybe they're not ad nauseum. Interesting. Temple of Deceit usually indicates... Guessing you need to take Eidolon there. Temple of Deceit usually indicates... some version of ad nauseum, but I guess something different here. Unless ad nauseum starting to... No, ad nauseum doesn't have that many basic swamps. So not sure terribly what's going on here, but pass turn. Some type of Pox build? It's one thing about the merging of the friendly and constructed leagues, like it's kind of a... feels like a brutality. Definitely feels like a brutality. Okay, so some style of Thopter Sword deck. Thopter Sword or Prison potentially. Blue-black Prison. Foundry. So interesting. Doesn't look like the exact list we've been facing off against, but or that's been doing well, but this is certainly an interesting. It's not what I wanted to see. Way too many lands. Problem is, we're going to get locked out real quick. Okay. So some type of just blue-black control list. Next turn, so probably going to go get Lattice here. Yeah, we're just dead. Because they lock us out from playing spells now. So some type of blue-black artifact-based control list. Probably safely cut these Searing Blazes. Smashes seem like they have enough reasonable targets. Skullcrack's probably a reasonable inclusion. Beyond that, don't think there's a whole lot else one way or the other. This sounds fine. Good Thoughtseize a bunch. And like it. Eidolon's probably pretty reasonable against them if we can land it, but control deck with main deck collective brutalities and a whole bunch of other nonsense, pretty rough to fight against. This is certainly a hand, like if we can go spike into Eidolon, they don't have an answer for Eidolon. This is certainly a hand that could pressure them enough to give them problems. But probably not a very favorable matchup for us. Like we had basically the triple creature draw and they still pretty easily picked it apart. Collective Brutality is a brutal, brutal card for burn. This is the kind of matchup that you could see wanting light up the stage against, or that kind of effect. A little bit more. Of course, you have a discard spell on one. Why wouldn't you, right? Oh, thank goodness it's Thoughtseize. mean, if they don't have brutality, we might, or another discard spell, we might just be able to really easily burn them out. That'd be nice. Well, they don't have brutality. We'll see if they have another discard spell here. Sure. That suggests to me you don't really have a whole lot to bring in this matchup. Yep, Liliana's a little unfortunate here. Now they get to untap with Blast Zones, so our number of outs are kind of cut off. Like, why? Okay, it's like, whatever. Why are you activating Relics? Sure. God bless America! If they have some way to lock us out in the sideboard, I'm not going to be a very happy camper. I mean, we know they have the ability to go get Lattice. I know that much. Please don't have something that's relevant here. Of course you have Witchbane Orb. Why wouldn't you? So now a haste creature is our only out. Yep. Couldn't have drawn that one turn sooner, could I? No, I'll go get Mycosynth Lattice and lock us out. Guess I should have pointed that. I'm an idiot. I should have pointed that at their Karn. That was my stupidity there. I should have poured in Boros Charm at Karn. That was a mistake. I should have pointed in Boros Charm at Karn. That would have locked them out from locking us out of the game, but then we only have the and we have the 8 outer of creatures if they don't always leave up Blast Zone. I don't know. I figure that game was probably a lost cause either way once we missed on those 2 top decks to kill them. Anyways, this has been John from MTG Nexus. Definitely some play lines I could have taken there in that last game that might have led to a win in game number 2, but I guess we'll never know. This has been John from MTG Nexus. Hey, we're back for match number 4. And then definitely a different league than the last round out, so this hand's okay. Really could use another land, but I'm not going to pass up a double Swift Spear draw. So Ooh, mirror match. Rough. Draw another land next turn. We'll be in great shape. Hopefully they don't have triple bolt. Alright, let's... Whew. That was a little close for comfort. Shoo. Check out our deck guide on Patreon if you wish to check that out. Become a Patreon member for $1 a month, and you'll get access to our up-to-date sideboard guide. We update twice a month, which looks like there's going to be a lot of updates coming out with so Burn Mirror. I believe it's a couple paths, Skullcracks, Searing Bloods, got Eidolons on the draw, Lavamancer out, copy of Skewer the Critics out, bring in the Bloods, bring in the Cracks. Though they didn't show us any white, so it's possible they're just a mono red list, which means we would consider wanting Smash, but wait and see what happens. And then 2 copies of Path to Exile. But if they only show us mono red for all these games, then shall see what happens. Mirror match is always a very interesting dance. This is the matchup that I'm probably most concerned about, having the 4 copies of Sunbaked Canyon in our deck. So, I mean, if this deck turns out to be... Or if the mirror match turns out to be okay with the correct configurations, then I could certainly see 4 Sunbaked Canyon being the correct amount. So, this hand's okay. The mirror match, this isn't really the kind of hand you want, though. Still think we keep it, but could be problematic. Still haven't shown us that they have any colors in their deck. It's possible they're just mono red. Sure. Light up the stage. Yep, looks like they're just a mono red version. So that changes how we sideboard. Possible I should have gotten the kind of hand did they keep? So they just a mono red Phoenix list that had a really bad draw last game? It's possible I just misread this in their mono red Phoenix. Alright, so that means that changes the equation somewhat. We definitely want Eidolons in our decks next game, if there is another game. So, pass. Yep, it's just mono red Phoenix. I mean, just being a relative term. So any 3 damage spell lets us kill them anyway, so... Except that one. Does that change the equation? Maybe. They have some type of burn spell, we're dead anyway, so... That might do it, depends on what they draw here. So, bolt this guy. Give another burn spell. Another burn spell, we're kind of dead either way, so... So land or 1 damage spell should do it here. Why did you slow roll the lightning bolt? That makes no sense. Alright, so bring these Eidolons back in. These skull cracks can go back out. These pass can go back out. Boros Charm was the original cut. Bring the skewer back in. One of Rest in Peace isn't terrible, but it's not great. So I think I may actually just sit this one out with that. And then... do I risk bringing in the smashes? That was my fault for not identifying them as this hand is on the border of keepable. Three lands obviously is very questionable, especially if they just bolt this. Oh, Faithless Looting. They discard double Phoenix. Nope, just one Phoenix, so could try to maximize damage there, but it's more important to get the Rift Bolt out of our hand. Metamorphose, sure. Makes it more likely for them to be able to get back Phoenix this turn. Makes it very likely they'll get the Phoenix back this turn. Faithless Looting. So as it currently stands, we have access to 13 points next turn. Barring the Swiftspear dying, obviously. Otherwise, we have 9. So, doing Swiftspear math, you always add +1 to the damage of each spell. So, as it currently stands, if they swing out with whatever Phoenixes they drop and don't have a bolt effect for our Swiftspear, any bolt, skewer, or lava spike's lethal next turn. Okay, they have a second Arclight, which is unfortunate. Soulscar Mage, which is annoying. We just go ahead and aim the Rift Bolt at their dude. Another land, not precisely what we wanted there. Should have aimed the Rift Bolt at their face and then the skewers at them. Should be at 4 right now, which is relevant if we draw Boros Charm. Sure. Just drawing too many lands this league. Well, I mean, I misidentified what deck they were in game 2, but we also just drew too many lands when we needed to draw spells. So sometimes that's what happens with burn. This has been John for MTG Nexus with match number 4. We're back for our 5th and final match in this league. Hand looks pretty solid, although we are on the draw, which does kind of suck, but... Ugh. Not Infect. Affinity, obviously not the best matchup in the world. Especially when they have Welding Jar. Supremely annoying card. Ravager, even more annoying. They're really going to go all in on this. Nope, just have the Gal Blast that we figured they might have. I don't know that I necessarily agree with that play. I might have been more inclined to Welding Jar that there. Oh, they're going all in on whatchamacallit here? Maybe, maybe not. So barring them going all in on for the kill here, we've got them dead next turn. Sure. Yep. Getting game 1 on the draw against them is a pretty good deal. So, board out anything that doesn't target creatures. Boros Charms, Lava Spikes. On the draw, I'm going to board out all the Eidolons. Then board in anything that deals with creatures. And anything that prevents life gain. So, seems like a pretty good swap here. Smash a little more efficient than Cindervines would normally be in this spot, so that is something to note. Someone wanted me to test Smash in this league, so we really haven't had too big of a chance to test its effectiveness. So, this is a pretty decent hand. The one Lava Spike obviously kind of a little eh. Yep. Always with the I dump my hand draws. Cranial Plating's a scary card. Okay. It's like Ravager into... Wow. Don't know how I feel about this draw? Question mark. Do you have a Gal Blast? You do not. Alright. I don't want to count my chickens before they're hatched, but this feels like... Okay, Memnite, sure. That's Champion? No, it feels like a Master of Ethereum. Okay, sure. Mancer's a good draw here. So that's 3 damage on that. No ability to activate anything, so Stirring Blood's gonna kinda clean house here. Volt Scourge, annoying, but given the situation, not unbeatable. So we know those are 2 of the 4 cards in their hand. I mean, yeah, I guess they can go for like the 2-turn Inkmoth Nexus kill. Is that like their best game plan? Okay. Okay, so you're just dead. Cool. Do it this way, that way if they have some unforeseen force of negation or something shenanigans, we can always just Lavamancer here. Alright, so 3-2 league, pretty solid overall. Modern points, pretty useful. Got our play points back, got a treasure chest. So, Overall, pretty solid league. I think more copies of Sunbaked Canyon, like for 4 of, definitely warrants exploration. Outside of Leyline, I don't really know there's any particular enchantment we necessarily have to hate out. Uh, I do like Cindervines, but I don't know if it's worth giving up some number of Sunbaked Canyons to do so. So this might be a configuration worth testing again. Cage. The utility on Cage is pretty high right now, given the number of Dredgevine decks and stuff running around. So having multiple pieces of Graveyard Hate's pretty nice, pretty different variants. Their Cloud, whatever their enchantment killers aren't necessarily quite as good when you have some number of cages and some number of Rustin pieces. The list that did well this past weekend in the Modern Challenge, well, it was a zoo list to boot, and no Sunbaked Canyons, which is interesting to note. It was running 6 pieces of Graveyard Hate, so that is something to keep a note on as the Bridgevine deck continues to evolve and such, and when people see how consistent or inconsistent it is. So, anyways, this has been a friendly reminder. If you're new to the channel or like what you're seeing, please consider subscribing, giving us a thumbs up, leaving a constructive comment down below. And don't forget to check our Patreon and Discord, which are linked down below the channel. This has been John from MTG Nexus. Everybody have a great day.